people begin to grumble, both inside and outside the synagogue, because of Jesus' new hardy words. And the master, after taking breath, looks with ecstatically shining eyes towards the people who are grumbling more loudly, that is, towards the groups in which there are some Judeans. He resumes speaking. Why are you grumbling among yourselves? Yes, I am the son of Mary of Nazareth, the daughter of Joachim of the house of David, a virgin consecrated in the temple, and then married to Joseph of Jacob of the house of David. Many of you have known the just parents of Joseph, a royal carpenter, and those of Mary, the virgin heiress of the royal stock. And you thus say, how can he say that he descended from heaven? And you become doubtful. I remind you of the prophets who prophesied the incarnation of the Word. And I remind you that it is a dogma, more for us Israelites than for any other people, that he whose name we dare not mention could not become flesh according to the laws of mankind, and an impoverished mankind at that. The most pure, uncreated one, if he humiliated himself by becoming man for the sake of man, could but choose the womb of a virgin purer than lilies to clothe his divinity with flesh. The bread that descended from heaven in the days of Moses was placed in the gold ark, which supported the mercy seat and was watched over by cherubim behind the veils of the tabernacle. And the word of God was with the bread. And it was right that it should be so, because the deepest respect is to be paid to the gifts of God and to the tables of his most holy word. So what will God have prepared for his own word and for the true bread that has come down from heaven? A more immaculate and precious ark than the gold one, to support the precious mercy seat of his pure will to immolate himself, watched over by the cherubim of God, veiled by virginal purity, by perfect humility, sublime charity, and all the most holy virtues. Well, we can see what Jesus is saying there, that Mary is the new ark of the new covenant, just as the tablets of the law, the word of God, were placed in the ark of the covenant. So the word of God himself was placed in this new ark, the Blessed Virgin. And we also can say, as Jesus says, well, the bread, the manna, should be placed with the tables of the law in the ark. So Mary carried not just the word of God, but the bread of life himself inside herself, which was the ark of the new covenant. And when Jesus refers back to the dogma of the faith, and the word dogma, of course, may not have been on his Aramaic lips when he said this, but in translating to 20th century Italian, he's giving us the closest word to that Aramaic term he would have used. And dogma is that very word. And we get this a reference to transubstantiation, in fact, later on in this chapter. Same thing. The Aramaic word that would have been used would be different, of course, from the word transubstantiation, but there's an opportunity to use the more precise modern European language to convey what Jesus intended to say with what may have been a more rough and ready Aramaic 2,000 years ago. We have the reference to this dogma that it has to be a pure virgin that receives the divinity in her body to become, to house the God become man. And that's a reference to Isaiah 7:14. And it shows that the Jews were expecting the Messiah to be the child of a virgin. And in fact, there's a book, I wish I could remember its name, which goes into this and shows that actually it's not, behold, a young woman will conceive. It actually is understood to properly as, behold, a virgin shall conceive. And Jesus just effectively confirms that.